Everything you've been told about fitness is keeping you fat, tired, and anxious. And the worst part is, the real solution is right outside. The fitness industry wants you spending money on supplements, gym memberships, and fat-burning programs that often leave you more exhausted than when you started. But the most powerful metabolic reset your body has ever needed costs you absolutely nothing. It costs a pair of shoes in 20 minutes. In this video, you're going to discover the 10 most surprising things that happen inside your body when you start walking every single day. This isn't just about feeling better. These are exact biological chain reactions that flip the switch on fat burning and clear your bloodstream of toxins. As you move, your muscles become sponges for excess sugar, lowering your insulin levels and protecting your heart with every single step you take. Beyond the metabolism, your brain undergoes a radical transformation. Walking stimulates the hippocampus, the area responsible for memory and emotional regulation. New neurons begin to connect, clearing the mental fog that accumulates from hours of sitting. Your mind literally expands as your feet move forward. Perhaps most incredible is the impact on your DNA. Regular walking has been shown to protect and even lengthen your telomeres, the caps on chromosomes. This process effectively slows down cellular aging. You aren't just getting fit, you are staying younger at a fundamental microscopic level. Contrast this with a typical midday crash. Without movement, your cortisol remains high, and your energy drops as your body enters survival mode. But a simple walk creates a steady flow of energy. It drops your stress hormones and forces your body to use stored fat for fuel. Your lymphatic system, which has no pump of its own, relies entirely on your movement to flush out waste and boost your immune defenses. By the time this video ends, you'll understand why your life depends on this motion. It's the most natural medicine we possess. Whether on grass, pavement, or sand, every step is a signal to your biology that it is time to heal and time to thrive. It is time to stop overcomplicating your health. Step outside. Start moving. Your transformation begins with a single step. Just walk. There is a machine that has been engineered over millions of years, not in a lab, not in a factory, but through the relentless pressure of survival itself. This machine was built for one purpose, above all else: to move, to cross vast, unforgiving landscapes, to pursue, to flee, to climb, to endure. It generates its own fuel, rebuilds its own damaged components, and continuously upgrades its internal software in response to physical demand. It is the most sophisticated biological system ever to exist on this planet. And right now, for most people reading this, that machine is slowly breaking down, not from overuse, but from the one condition it was never designed to tolerate: stillness. We have been sold a dangerous lie about what it means to take care of our health. The fitness industry has convinced us that the path to weight loss runs through expensive gym equipment and high-intensity programs, and because we've absorbed this belief, we have dismissed the one intervention that every major research institution keeps returning to. We have dismissed walking not because it doesn't work, but because it seems too simple to matter. That assumption is costing people their health. Here is what almost no one talks about. The difference between a body that is sitting and a body that is walking is the difference between active repair and active decay. Within minutes of becoming sedentary, your body initiates what researchers call the sedentary cascade, a sequence of biological shutdowns. The largest muscles in your body go electrically silent. An enzyme responsible for processing fat drops by close to 90%. Your blood thickens with unspent triglycerides. Your cells become progressively more resistant to insulin. The internal environment of your body shifts from a state of active metabolism to one of storage, stagnation, and slow deterioration. And then you stand up, and you take one step, and everything changes. The moment your muscles begin to contract rhythmically, a cascade in the opposite direction begins. Blood flow accelerates. Glucose gets pulled directly into your muscle cells through a separate pathway, one that bypasses the broken insulin mechanism entirely. Research has demonstrated that 15 minutes of walking after a meal can regulate blood sugar spikes more effectively than many pharmaceutical interventions. You are physically clearing metabolic waste from your blood. You are doing the work that medication tries to replicate with your legs. For anyone trying to eliminate abdominal fat, visceral fat is tied to chronically elevated blood sugar and insulin resistance. Every time you walk, you are telling your biochemistry that the fuel is needed for movement, not storage. Over days and weeks, this shift compounds. The body stops defaulting to fat accumulation and begins defaulting to fat utilization. But the benefits do not stop at metabolism. As you move past 20 minutes, something shifts in your hormonal environment. We live under chronic stress, financial anxiety, social comparison, and the constant low-grade alarm of digital existence. This stress keeps cortisol chronically elevated. And high cortisol suppresses testosterone, disrupts sleep, and makes it physiologically harder to lose weight. Walking interrupts this cycle. The rhythmic movement sends a signal to your brain that you are no longer stationary in the face of danger. The threat is receding. Cortisol begins to drop. Adrenaline stabilizes. The mental fog from hours of screen time begins to lift. You shift from a state of suppressed overwhelm to one of alert, directed calm. This hormonal reset is one of the most powerful mental health resources available. free, side effect free, and accessible to anyone. There is something happening inside your skull right now that most people will never know about, and it is arguably the most important reason to start walking daily that science has ever uncovered. For most of the 20th century, neuroscientists operated under a belief that felt like an iron law of biology. The adult brain does not grow. You were born with a finite number of neurons, and from the moment you reached adulthood, those neurons began a slow, irreversible decline. Memory loss, cognitive fog, the gradual erosion of sharpness and recall, all of it was considered inevitable, a one-way road. That belief has been completely dismantled. We now know that the brain retains the capacity to generate new cells throughout the entire human lifespan. We know that the connections between neurons can strengthen, multiply, and reorganize in response to the right stimulus. We know that the architecture of your brain is not fixed. It is fluid, responsive, and deeply sensitive to sustained physical movement. When you walk for 30 to 40 consecutive minutes, your brain initiates the production of a protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. BDNF is the most valuable biological compound your body is capable of producing. It is the molecular signal to build, repair, and expand. It is the difference between a mind that sharpens with age and one that quietly deteriorates. The region most affected by BDNF is the hippocampus, the structure responsible for memory formation, spatial reasoning, and emotional regulation. It is also the first region to shrink as we age, leading to the memory lapses we accept as normal features of getting older. Daily walking floods the hippocampus with BDNF. It does not merely slow the shrinkage, it reverses it. Studies using brain imaging have shown measurable increases in hippocampal volume in individuals who walk regularly, compared to those who remain sedentary. You are not just maintaining your mind, you are physically rebuilding it, week by week, step by step. The cognitive clarity that follows a long walk is the direct result of increased cerebral blood flow and elevated BDNF. It also involves transient hypofrontality, a temporary reduction in activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for anxious overthinking. When the prefrontal cortex quiets, the rest of the brain is free to make connections it normally cannot. Problems that felt intractable in front of a screen resolve themselves almost effortlessly mid-stride. This is not mysticism, it is neuroscience. And it is why some of the most prolific thinkers in history refuse to work without walking. The body in motion is a mind in flow. Now let's move from the brain down into the engine that keeps everything running, the cardiovascular system. When blood flow increases during walking, it creates a physical force against the inner walls of your arteries, a force called shear stress. In response, the endothelium releases nitric oxide, a vasodilator that causes your arteries to relax and widen. The result is lower blood pressure, reduced cardiac workload, and arteries that are measurably more youthful. This is not a metaphor. Walking makes your arteries biologically younger. Consistency compounds. Walking operates in zone 2, where the heart is challenged enough to grow stronger, but not so taxed that it requires repair. There is one more system walking supports: the lymphatic network, the body's internal sanitation infrastructure. The lymphatic system has no heart-driving fluid. It is entirely dependent on the mechanical compression created by muscular movement. When you sit for hours, your lymph stagnates. Your body's first line of defense goes offline. Every step you take is an act of immune maintenance. Every walk is a biological patrol of your own internal environment. Most conversations about weight loss, fat burning, and physical fitness stop at the surface. They talk about caloric deficits, macronutrient ratios, healthy meal plans, and exercise frequency as if the body were a simple input-output machine. Put in less fuel, burn more energy, get a leaner result. And while those variables matter, they completely miss the deeper biological layer, because underneath the question of how much you weigh, there is a molecular clock ticking inside every single cell in your body. And that clock does not care about your fitness tracker or your step count. It cares about one thing: how you live, day after day. That clock is measured in telomeres at the end of every chromosome. There are protective caps that prevent the chromosome from fraying. Every time a cell replicates, these caps get slightly shorter. When they become too short, the cell can no longer divide properly. The progressive shortening of telomeres is one of the primary biological mechanisms of aging. It is why wounds heal more slowly as you get older. It is why the immune system becomes less responsive and why tissues throughout the body gradually lose their capacity to regenerate. Telomere length is, in a very literal sense, a measurement of how much biological time you have left. Oxidative stress and chronic inflammation are among the most potent drivers of telomere shortening. A sedentary lifestyle speeds it up. Every hour spent motionless in a state of metabolic stagnation adds compounding cellular stress that erodes those protective caps. The science on this is well established and consistent with everything we understand about how inflammation damages biological systems. But consistent moderate movements, the kind that requires no specialized equipment, has been linked to longer telomeres. People who walk regularly show measurably slower rates of cellular aging. They are, at the level of their DNA, biologically younger. The act of walking daily does not merely slow the clock. It buys back time that a sedentary life would otherwise spend. When you walk, You are engaging in one of the most sophisticated anti-aging interventions ever studied. You are managing glucose, resetting stress hormones, and protecting the molecular integrity of your DNA all at once, all for free, through the same ancient, elegant motion that carried your ancestors across continents before recorded history began. And yet, the biggest obstacle most people face has nothing to do with biology. It has to do with identity. The reason most fitness routines collapse within weeks is not a lack of information. It is a lack of identity shift. They walk to eliminate fat or because their doctor told them to. The behavior is attached to an external goal. It disappears the moment the goal is achieved or the motivation fades. True transformation happens when movement becomes a trait. They stop saying I am trying to get fit and start saying I am someone who moves every day. This is a neurological distinction. Identity-based habits activate different reward pathways than outcome-based habits. Every walk reinforces the identity, and every reinforcement makes the next walk more automatic. Look at populations where people live past 100 years. They are not following aggressive fat-burning protocols. They walk to tend their land. They walk to the market. Movement is woven so completely into their existence. Separating it from their life would be like separating breathing from living. Consistency and identity are the secret. One walk changes almost nothing. 100 walks begins to shift your metabolism and your cellular environment. 365 walks produces a body and a mind that are fundamentally different from the ones you started with. Sharper, calmer, leaner, more resilient, more alive. You were built for this. The signal is the simplest thing in the world. It is one foot in front of the other. It is the door opening. Everything else follows: the fat burning, the mental clarity, the cellular repair, the years quietly added back to the clock. All of it available to you right now, today, for free. All you have to do is move. There's a natural solution to speed up your metabolism, control cravings, and support your weight loss journey naturally and effectively. Click the link in the first pinned comment to start transforming your body.